Hello everybody, it is that panda guy and I'm here again with another video. And first off, to start, I do want to mention that I missed a lot of action. I actually didn't have in my camera roll that I fought for hours, and I think it just stopped recording at some point because I was actually just splitting myself between so many areas and it was hard to record and fight, because the thing is I have to record and make sure it's actually on stuff instead of going around changing garrison captains constantly, etc., right? And I was on the defense. I was using like 6 accounts to reinforce, and I wasn't even able to use my main because I think it was out of troops, and all I could do with my main was teleport it around, put it as garrison captain on stuff, and just, going with my day. So you are going to miss a lot of what actually happened afterwards, but I will kind of summarize what happens in this video and what happened, leading up to it. So basically, we got pressured for a few hours, and I decided that we'd end up giving up mid or something, and I just had our alliance teleport back to home region because I was like, dude, this island is freaking balls. I'm giving up. I don't even care at this point. And I was actually really sad and down. But then I think actually reached out to me. They told me and they were like, yo, we have a plan. We actually want to make, kind of a comeback. And I will say, I said this in the last video, I think, but I really do appreciate, Vin and SLF for reaching out because this was such, they were so crucial to our comeback by holding down BTW. Because honestly, the thing is, we could always have taken out SMHS, with AC 18 pretty easily by ourselves. But the issue was BTW was really holding down AC 18. And I will say, it's not like I will say that BTW isn't the strongest, I wouldn't say they're weak on towers. They have an insane field presence and all that. But when you consider them versus AC18 or even Vin, I will say SLF and their core players are a lot more, evened out. But the thing is, BTW has a lot weaker core players compared to them. So, even if they're high tier 5, these guys are fighting tier 6 players, right? Tier 6 tech. They're taking no good trades on these tower fights. And when they get pushed from SLF and Vin, they're kind of forced to try to defend two fronts, and they have to let AC18 burn them out of mid because there's 0 point for them to fight mid besides, holding on those towers and trying to, save those bases. And at the end of the day, if they just let SLF push from behind with no resistance, and same with Vin, they would have probably lost their level 7 outpost and probably had lost their level 6 outpost, that maybe even connects them because SLF went for their neck. And I will say SLF made a huge mistake near the end because they had this tower that they could have taken out, and I'll kind of go over that when we get there, but point is they kind of messed up, and honestly it was a big chance to take these guys out and cut them off, but they didn't. And by that time, these guys started waking up. And I kind of want to mention something. BTW and SMHS were both Chinese clans or alliances, sorry. So whenever we were awake or waking up, they were going to sleep. When we were going to sleep, they were waking up. So honestly, the time zones were really whack, and while we were fighting them, midday to night, they were kind of offline, mostly sleeping, and there was a just a hand group of these players who were kind of online and actually defending, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of their presence wasn't even here. So they were getting pushed from multiple areas with a lack of players to actually be online and defend. And, it was the prime time for all 4 of our alliances. So while these 2 pressured on BTW, this gave AC18 way more wiggle room to kind of take out their towers, push them out of mid, and then they could focus on SMHS, and that's actually what they do. And I also want to mention while I'm talking about this that we actually were going to build towards their flank and try to cut them off, but we weren't getting enough donations, before we would have had enough donations by the time they woke up to already have reached their flank, taken them out, and not had a ton of resistance from their high tier players, kind of making our job impossible, or our trades extremely just terrible, right? So we decided that we were just going to push the rest of our towers up mid, try to push them out of mid, and then continue to build on their flank and maybe cut them off before they woke up, or just anything of the sort, right? And I will say that these guys decided to give up mid. I can't believe it too, because if I'm gonna assume why SMHS betrayed everybody, I'm assuming that it was to take first place, right? But these guys instantly gave up mid and started just building hard towards our flank to cut us off. And maybe this was a strategical, movement to kind of cut us out of mid or cut us off for good so we wouldn't interfere with them. But I ended up counter building some towers so they couldn't directly attached to our village and start rallying that, because honestly defending a village for us would be way harder than defending a tower. And I'll kind of reason that out. So when you're defending a tower, you can obviously sit right beside the tower and just keep it full, whereas if you're defending a village, you have to go there's like so much room that you're not able to just like teleport up to, obviously, and you have a walkway. And if these guys were able to just rally our village, they would be able to hold field control. If AC-18 wasn't able to get down there, or one of our allies weren't able to come help us in the field, we didn't have enough troops at the time. We were already burnt out from fighting these guys for hours the day previously, and it was just not a good idea. So I ended up cutting them off from actually connecting to the village. And these guys, I think, ran out of material when connecting with us, because all they could do was rally 2 selective towers, and that really like made it so much easier to choose which towers we wanted to defend, and not make us like have to run around and garrison captain everything. I will mention that is in the next video. I didn't want to include that here because I actually, if I included all the footage of them rallying our towers, this video would have been up to an hour, and I would have had to cut that down, and it still would have been like 20, like maybe even 30 minutes, and it was just like a lot of footage. So I decided to put in another video, and I'll kind of talk about what's going on now. So Vin finally attached here. I do want to mention that this dude, if you guys didn't just see that, this dude was soloing the tower and making his teammates suffer. Like, people have to be really conscious about that stuff. Like that Lee AoE was hitting all of his teammates, and it was all because he was trying to hit that tower, and that was just really dumb on his part. Also, you're going to see soon, basically AC-18, we left them mostly to mid and kind of just like, just let them push up mid while we were kind of building up, trying to gather enough donations to kind of push up, and disconnect them from mid. And I will say they had one tower remaining mid that was going to be really hard to rally. And we were actually planning to double rally it. But before we could, they started building towards our flank. And that is when we actually decided to take the aggro for AC-18 and kind of force their attention on our flank, trying to cut us off, while AC-18 was able to just push them back to their outpost. Either way, you guys kind of get the point. And we end up going over to help BTW because, like I said, it was their off time. But either way, SLF is way weaker of an alliance than, BTW, at least like with like all the numbers they had. It was just really hard for SLF to outnumber them. And the best we could do as an alliance was to kind of cut them off, or like stop the reinforcements. So SLF was trying to disconnect them. And I will say SLF barely filled in time for these guys to get online. And I think they ran out of troops. They just didn't have enough people. They didn't have enough troops. And what we were actually trying to do was build... Okay, so I don't know if anybody knows this strategy, but people can obviously teleport, right? And the best way to stop reinforcements is to stop people from teleporting close to a tower. And there was this one tower, right? These guys were connected to 3 towers. There was this, like, they were rallying 2 towers, and the one tower these guys weren't focusing on was one that was already burning, and we had full tower control around it. We managed to take full tower control, and all these guys had to do was keep rallies on it, keep swarming it, whatever it might have been, right? They should have canceled these rallies on these other towers. These guys were taking really bad trades. I think they were, like, taking 2-for-1 trade. So they were trading really negative on at least this tower and maybe even the other one, right? Like, they were just taking really bad trades, and it wasn't smart for them to continue this. And I did try to mention in chat multiple times, you guys should cancel. These trades aren't good, like maybe swap out rally leader. And, what ends up happening is these guys, I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like, these guys are dumb, but they did make a really big mistake. We were able to kind of stop them from teleporting in on the middle tower. So I don't know if you guys saw that tower burning on the, off to the right, but basically there was a tower in between that we end up having full field control over. We have marches all around it, and these guys don't end up, just hard focusing that one. And all they have to do is cut off one tower, and all of their territory disconnects. We could have burned out their members. We could have gotten rid of any, possibility of these guys resisting. We could have burned out as many players as possible and just kind of crippled their, their possibility of helping SMHS anymore. And that was really the big what we were trying to do. We were just trying to cut them off, and it did work because these guys ended up stop helping SMHS, and that was really awesome because they were really the big problem holding down AC-18. And like I said, we were drained. At this point, we ended up becoming drained because we were just fighting two alliances. Our hospitals were becoming massive, like our bills, and it was just a really big issue. But you guys kind of see here that we end up having enough marches on the field to kind of stop these guys from teleporting in, except for, maybe in the corner on the left. But either way, like, you can't teleport onto marches, and that was basically the point that we were trying to do. Like, we were just trying to stop any, bigger players from teleporting in and reinforcing. And even if they did, it would have forced them to be the one person reinforcing, and these guys should just have totally forfeited the effort to fill these towers right here. Like, I don't know why these guys are putting in so much effort for this. when like they really didn't need to. Like you see this right here, guys. This tower was already halfway dead. They had a weak garrison captain in here, and they were focused on the other two towers. Like you guys just don't tunnel vision. That is like a really big lesson I guess you guys can take out from this. You guys really shouldn't tunnel vision. You should always make sure you're paying attention to everything, especially when I'm trying to tell you guys, what to do. And I don't try to make it sound like I'm some almighty player, but I definitely think that it would have been smarter for them to just give up on trying to burn those towers, right? Like I said, these guys were losing really bad trades. They're limited on the troops they have, and they need to, they need to value all their troops' lives, especially if they don't have to completely throw them away and they can just take good trades in this case. But yeah, I mean, I'm complaining a lot about this. It was a really big mistake. But either way, I really do appreciate these two alliances, because the fact that they pushed these guys really got BTW off our back. BTW finally did listen to us eventually, and we were able to kind of show them the, evidence that, SMHS did betray us, lied to them as well, and, just everything like that. So I do thank you guys for watching. This video is coming to an end, and I hope you guys were entertained today. So I do, like I said, I thank you guys, and I do hope you guys have an amazing day or night, and yeah, peace out. Also, I got hit here while I was freaking eating dinner. I had to run to my room. Like, that was crazy, man. I ran to my room and fought these kids.